This is where the fun begins.
Welcome to the Council. We begin tonight's meeting of the Council by calling the Council to order. Hello to everyone. Thank you for joining us. The Council is a live Twitch talk show and podcast discussing Star Wars: The Old Republic. I am Elise, and with me are my fellow Council members, Redna.
Hi-ho!
Wow, I was so unprepared for that.
That wasn't Mr. Hanky.
And,
I know what that was.
and Sakari. I'm sorry, but I only play the video game, so.
All right. Oh, you know what it is too. I know it. Hello, everybody. I'm going to have some class, unlike Redna tonight, and that disgusting content. Oh my goodness.
That would have to be me too, and I played it with my, don't tell anybody, my daughter.
Really? Oh, this is the stick of truth, I think it was.
Really? We have both of them. We have the new one too.
I know what
She
this one is.
teach
It's
me
the
how to
it's
play.
the fractured one, right? But it's whole. See how I
Yes.
made it family friendly.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Very nice. Very well done.
Anyway, Magic Ace won't be joining us tonight. So tonight we are going to be talking about Scourge. Scourge. Am I saying it
Lord
right?
Scourge.
I
There's
haven't.
a scourge upon the
I
galaxy.
have,
That's
I have not met him as of yet. So it is Scourge the Unreturned, as he is still not back in the game yet.
the unreturned.
Yes,
That's
sure.
good.
He's not even arrived in your game. The unarrived.
Right. The unarrived.
He
The
is
unknown.
the unarrived in my various playthroughs. He is the remainder of my last two that I have to finish, yes.
So
But he is also unreturned for anybody who has actually done it and played Kotvi and or Kotet.
right. So this is going to be a very challenging episode for Elise, who has yet to meet Scourge. But hey, yeah, we'll make it work. Like I actually have some footage of Scourge, so you'll actually kind of get to know him in a hurry. But also, you can plug your ears if you don't really want to have the spoilers. So we'll leave the options. All right, Redna, let's do some show maintenance, my friend.
Oh, that's right. I'm covering for our lovely Magic Ace today with our show maintenance.
Yep.
After the live broadcast, you can find our
wait,
recording,
can I
but I'm gonna.
interrupt? Wait. So I just want to say really quick that you are just slacking just a tiny bit. If you've got the thank you at the end for when you cover her for the thank yous, I need show maintenance across the top next time. Or
Oh.
maintenance or info or
Hmm.
something. Okay,
Okay.
please continue.
So after the live broadcast, you can find our recorded episodes everywhere podcasts are found and on our YouTube channel. Check out our social media and don't forget to follow on Twitch. You can find our Facebook page at facebook.com/thecouncilswotor, our Twitter at thecouncilswotor, and our website at www.thecouncilswotor.com. You can also find our Patreon page at patreon.com/thecouncilswotor.
All right, everybody. Thank you, Redna. So we're going to have a little bit of a different spin on things tonight. We're going to try to dig as deep as we can on a very specific topic. Usually we're kind of all over the place. I don't know if we're going to be all over the place trying to do this tonight, but hey, it's going to be fun. We have spoken about companions before. This is about specifically Scourge. So it's going to be, I hope it's going to be, I don't know what all there is to say about him, but I'm sure that there's a lot more knowing us than I originally think before we started the episode. How it goes, guys. This part of the show is the icebreaker. The icebreaker is just a question where we ask a kind of on the surface question to get the discussion going. So we're going to start with Elise this time. The question is: out of the companions that the returns, companion return stories that you have experienced so far, which are your favorites?
I only have one to this question, and it is my favorite.
Okay, so which is your favorite then?
Torian.
Why am I not even surprised?
You shouldn't be surprised. I don't know why you'd be surprised.
And remind those of us that have no clue who that is, who they are, and who they came with, and all that stuff.
Oh, Okay. Um, I don't know why y'all wouldn't know Torian. If you don't, you need to get you some. But regardless, um, he's the bounty hunter. I don't know originally. I think he was the DPS like companion. If we're going in the Wayback Machine when they actually had like class roles, he was the DPS. So,
we have
I
some
had
Torian
him.
fans in chat.
That's right, because
speaking up.
they're people of quality. So, my bounty hunter is a tank. So I brought Torian even before he became one size fits all. So, yeah. So Torian bounty hunter, he is the romanceable character for the bounty hunter if you're a female. So, Torian. I literally started Codby and Kotet on a different character, heard he was coming back, went back and actually played it a second time through, and anybody who knows how I feel about the expansion knows that was painful, but I did it just for the Torian. Yes. And I was not disappointed. It was like one of the best romance reunions that so far I have seen in this game. So
is he the one that's all like Kree Jafar, you know, like talking to Mando all the time, and he's kind of young, a little slightly emo. Okay.
He's a little young, frankly, for my bounty hunter. I don't know. I think he's supposed to be like young. When
like
they
18, like barely legal
Charles,
young.
Yeah. I think Charles like put out because somebody asked how old everybody is, and I thought he was like 18, and your bounty hunter is supposed to be like
total Mando jailbait.
5 or something. But I'm like, my bounty hunter looks 30. I don't. Maybe it's just me, but.
He swore to me he was 26.
Right. A little creepy, but you know what? It is what it is. Anyway, so
Torian, what about you? We have one solid vote for Torian right here.
That's right.
People. I'm trying to think who was even memorably returned to me. Oh wait, I remember. M14X. All the way.
Really? M14X.
For the Republic, we will destroy the Empire. Let them all die. I will destroy them. Yes, I liked him, particularly because the free token I used for Kotet to get him back was a trooper, so I didn't actually have to go do the PvP prerequisite in order to get him back, so I just got to experience the story moments, and I've always loved him. He's actually one of my favorite companions in the game. He's so over the top, but also a little bit, sadistic. Like, let's blow them up. I will go on a secret mission and destroy entire planet of Empire because for the Republic.
He's Buzz Lightyear, very Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah. So I enjoy getting him back, I would say. I mean, I'm that sorry sap that hasn't gotten many of them back because I haven't taken the time to figure out how, honestly.
There actually is a lot of work. If you are wanting to experiencing like everything out there is a lot of work to do. Got to get to chapter 9, I think it is, of pot fee, and then do that whole there's a mission involved with and guy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I had a second one, but
and that's
just
a big
keep going.
Thing too, right? Because like to Elise's point, if I'm going to even judge which one's my favorite, I really need to do them all. And beyond that, I don't want to even pursue getting certain companions back unless I'm playing the right class, because I have romanced these characters and I do want to see that reunion sequence enacted out. So like, I'm not going to go and get Vet back. I mean, actually I have done that, but I haven't done it with the character that romanced her, so I don't really count it as a true return yet, because I want to fully experience what the game and the story elements have to offer in that front. So
okay, so you're talking about, you've got to unpack the romanceable side. It's not just enough to have the companion back and to have seen, hey, here's a companion on new ones. It's got to be
right,
the romanceable side.
As a gut, well, if that romance option is available, then I want to receive them properly back in that fashion. Because for me, like, one part of it is just that I'm incredibly irritated, frustrated with the fact that like one character can get every one of these companions back. Now I know that there are a few exceptions at this stage, but essentially, like, I don't want all of my dark side companions on my Republic characters, and vice versa. And quite frankly, I don't need my scoundrel characters back on my Jedi Knight. You know, like, I actually really like how those core companions were attributed to the different classes. So realistically, I probably am a bit jaded and negative towards any of those stories that I haven't received them properly anyway, properly in my own headcanon,
Right. Well, yeah, I like how when they came back, they really complicated and either they added some kind of a color, but some of them were really complicated to run around with because obviously you're wanting to run around with and score points with your companion. But if they don't agree with your philosophy or the way you treat people or something like that, then you're having to like you make the decision: do I fake it in front of this person, or do I just go ahead and be who I am and let them hate me? How does that all work?
Well, exactly. And even as an extension of that, I'll even go so far as to say, like, even some of these returning ones, I'd like opportunities to kill them off. And my classic example is Gus on my scoundrel. When you pick Gus up, now I understand that some of his uh, companion story after you get him is kind of interesting, but the entire sequence of events that leads up to him joining your crew as a scoundrel, he's backstabbing and tries to kill you multiple times over and over and over again, and then you don't even invite him onto your ship. He invites himself on, and you have no means of saying, "Excuse me, no, I don't want your backstabbing, obsequious, pain in the butt, cowardice, foolish Jedi wannabe self on my ship." You don't get that opportunity, right? And so that
Right.
also irritated me just as much because it's like, you're just going to force this guy on me, seriously? Or the bounty hunter companion that he's supposed to be a target for you. You can't complete your contract honorably and report so. You absolutely must, based off of the entire story element, be a deceitful, lying bounty hunter that refuses to fulfill the contract and instead try to become friends with the Metro. It's just a pain. It's a real pain.
Right. Yeah. So, Elise, you had another companion. Tell us about that one.
I did. Really quick though, the one thing I do like about the about losing them and where we are at now with the companions is that you can actually choose the ones that weren't included on this in the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could choose to get them or not get them, and I have chosen to not get the vast majority. So, I mean, if you don't want Gus, you can just not choose to pick him up on most of your other characters. So, there's that. Um, Blizz.
Yes, Blizz.
Love him too.
That was a cool little quest.
Blizz is just such a fun companion too.
Yeah, he was the other one that I actually went out of my way and did. You had to do those little tasks for him. That was cute. He kept calling you boss, and I did it on my bounty hunter. So I assume he has like a special line or two for you if you do it on your bounty hunter. But I thought that one was really cute. I gave them props for that.
Yeah, it was creative. I like how you find him on Hoth. You know, there's like this. It's like way out of the ordinary for Jawas. I think it's pretty creative.
Mm-hmm.
Angle on it.
Yeah, get the desert rat on the ice planet.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So
then he has his little crew, and he tells you you're the big boss, and tells everybody else about how you're the big boss. But then you have to do all this stuff, and they all call you a boss. Funny. All right, go on. I'm sorry.
This whole
Actually,
clan of Jawas.
For a non-English speaking character, I think he's actually the most successfully incorporated as a story element. Like I found myself taking the time, like not spacebarring. I really actually wanted to read each of his lines because he was an interesting companion.
If you can, it's tough to read through some of his lines because he speaks so fast, and then it's like, well, here it is for a second, so you can kind of catch up in the reading, and then it moves on. And if you haven't read it, that was challenging for me. All right, do I get to answer the question now? Is it my turn?
So, hey, Sakari, out of the companion returns you've experienced so far, which are your favorites?
Why, thank you, Redna. I'm glad you asked. No, so the one that I think, and like you guys had such great answers, I don't know if this one will hold up, but I actually really enjoyed the Ashara Zavros for my Inquisitor, because my Inquisitor, like previously, yes, Elise, what are you thinking? Looked like something came to your mind.
I had to think of who that was.
Okay, yeah, she's a Togruta.
Yeah,
the Togruta.
I haven't got.
Okay, so she is when you pick her up, it's kind of like she's got this ancestor that you have to twist or basically collect his force ghost. So you've already kind of heard her in the process because there's some connection there. But you take her on and you kill everybody else she knows. So she's with you, but she's like distinctively light side. She's resistant, but she's willing to be your apprentice. And what happens is that all that time apart, she really has a chance to explore who she is in the Force without like all of these forces trying to move her one way or another or influence her in some way. And what I really like it is when you get back with her, she comes back as an equal and not as an apprentice. I just thought that was cool. Like in the time that you missed her, she used the opportunity to really like mature and become strong. And I thought that was great. Especially if you've romanced her, because there's a little bit of a something ain't right there if this is your apprentice, but you're also romancing your apprentice, if you know what I'm saying. All you Kira Carson people out there. So at least this way, it like sets that straight. Like you don't feel bad. So that is my answer to this. Mr. Redna.
Yeah, so we actually have, and I apologize, I didn't have myself muted while I was typing, but so I'm going to do a little summary that does not spoil the ending of the in-game class story. What we've got is a history and lore, and this is mostly about where Scourge came from, because a lot of people may not be aware, but there is a book called, I think it's just called Revan, right?
Ooh, I actually have a picture for this. Hang on. I got ready and I was prepared this time.
And
excellent.
And for those of you who are listening, this is story time with Redna. He did not do my intro that I made up for this section, so I'm going to do it instead. Story time with Redna. Yes. You need like a fireplace behind you, and you should be wearing a smoking jacket.
A mug of hot cocoa and a pipe. Right.
Well,
be like Masterpiece Theater on
exactly.
PBS. That is what we should be seeing here.
The irony is I actually do have a fireplace sound effect, but I'm not the one hosting the stream, so I can't inject it into my audio.
Just start a real fire, be all right. Just burn your day.
Because I do on my stream now. I do. That's right, I said do. The story time with Redna, because I read things to BG, baby girl, baby gamer.
But do you have the fireplace screen
I have
on the back?
Fireplace
Where is it?
screen.
You need to go look.
Fireplace audible overlay or underlay that so the whole time you can hear the fire crackling behind me.
Oh.
You need to go see some of his archived streams.
This needs to happen. All right, continue, please.
Okay, so can we get the image up?
Yes. So the book is Revan by Drew Karpyshyn, who, of course, was a BioWare writer for a long while. I think he's moved on now. He's been kind of in and out with them.
Back for one of these expansions. I think he helped with the second expansion, Cotet, a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then he's moved on too. I mean, like as with any of these creatives, they have multiple projects they work on.
So let me also throw this out there too. If you came to SWTOR because you played KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2, the Revan book, in my opinion, is the best bridge of the gap, of the 300-year gap between KOTOR 2 and SWTOR. So I know we've said that before on the show. For anybody who's new that's just now tuned in, I want to make sure we do that as well. Do that and then play the Jedi Knight storyline, and it's like all one story.
And Drew Karpyshyn did a lot of the writing for KOTOR, and he did a lot of the writing for this game prior to release.
He's basically the guy who invented Revan.
That's cool, but now it's over your face. But
yeah,
hey,
I'm working on it.
I'm okay with that.
Doesn't want to expand further. It's annoying.
That's funny.
Like the fireplace is talking to us.
There
you go.
Oh, there we go. Yay. Okay.
Okay, I can't get the sound effect, but at least we got some imagery going here. All right, so the book, and the book was really interesting. So it got off. A lot of people panned the novel because I don't think they understood what it was. It was a lot of, actually, I would argue, those people that were introduced to the Star Wars universe through the novelizations in the late 90s. You know, these are the people, the diehards. Magic Ace is one of them. Arguably, I'm also one of them that like really found their thirst and love for Star Wars out of reading these novels that really expanded the universe before the prequels came out, and obviously long before Disney did. This book, though, was actually written by Drew Karpyshyn to be a direct predecessor to this MMO. And so it ends on a wicked cliffhanger. There's a bunch of unanswered questions. And I think that really upset and frustrated a lot of people. If you know that it's actually, you read this and then you go into the video game and you're going to get more of the story, it ends up being a lot more satisfying read, or if you read it after having played the game a while, because it fills in a lot of those question marks that you have about the galaxy and what happened between, in particular, KOTOR 2 and this game, right? Because this game actually takes place several hundred years later, but this book actually does directly tie in. It also explains, well, the game actually concludes the explanation, but it does explain what happened to Revan, setting him up for how he even gets introduced to this game. But for our purposes, we're going to be focusing on Scourge. So there are going to be spoilers for the book in here. I would argue it's not going to ruin anything for you. It doesn't. Well, there's one moment that does, but I would say get over it.
Right. If you haven't read the book by
alert,
now, it's been out for 8 years.
Right. And even my wife, I mean, like I would share all this information with her because she's tried to read the book quite a few times and just could never get into it. So, there you go. So for Scourge, he was born several decades before the Jedi Civil War between the Galactic Republic and the Sith Empire under the Sith Lord Darth Revan. So at the time, Revan was actually working hand in hand with the Emperor that Scourge joined in. And Scourge excelled during his time as a student at the Sith Academy on the imperial capital of Dromund Kaas, which we're all familiar with. After 2 years of service in the outer reaches of the Empire, Scourge was recalled to Dromund Kaas to uncover the person responsible for the recent string of assassination attempts against Darth Nihilus of the Empire's ruling Dark Council. Scourge battled political intrigue and rivals in his search for the truth, and after he was led to believe that Nihilus' fellow Dark Counselor Darth Zedrix was responsible, he killed Zedrix, only to learn that Nihilus had manipulated him. The assignment had been a test of his loyalties. Nihilus revealed the existence of a conspiracy against the Emperor as she showed the younger Sith how the Emperor had stripped the Force from his own homeworld of Nathma and killed millions in order to become immortal. So Scourge knew about this long before we did in the video game. In fact, we didn't really learn much about this until Ziost gave us a huge flavor, and we didn't really learn the details of it until the recent expansions. Convinced that the Emperor needed to be stopped, Scourge allied himself with the Jedi Masters Revan and Mitra Surik while planning to confront the Emperor. So what happened was, of course, Revan had been restored. He went back to the Republic. He had taken Mitra as his apprentice.
In the old canon, right? This is not
right.
new canon, because new canon doesn't exist in this time period yet. But old canon, Revan was supposedly light side. And was redeemed and then went back to... And Mitra Surik, who is Mitra Surik, in case anybody's wondering?
Became the Exile.
Okay, so that's the character you play in KOTOR 2, I believe, right?
KOTOR 2, yes.
Mitra, you play
canonically,
KOTOR 2.
You can play as a male, but I think canonically it was a female. And I think one of Revan's generals, if I recall.
Yes, and I think she was the reason she became his apprentice. She was responsible for the devastation of a planet. Was it Terrace? Anyway, she did some pretty horrific things in the interests of the Republic. No, this was back.
Mitra Surik. I want to say she had something to do with like the Shadow Generator or something that destroyed Malachor 5, something like that, if I recall.
Something like that.
That's right. Which is why she was exiled, but then Revan took her under his wing as part of his own personal restoration, and then Revan ended up working together here, as we see with Scourge. Because Scourge ended up trying to find some allies when he learned how horrible the Emperor was. That he had literally obliterated all life from an entire planet in order to gain his immortality. And so he, as it says, convinced that the Emperor needed to be stopped, Scourge allied himself with the Jedi Masters Revan and Mitra while planning to confront the Emperor. But when he witnessed the future, so this is what happens towards the end, he witnessed the future and saw that it was another Jedi, not Revan, who was destined to destroy the Emperor. Scourge turned on the two of them in order to ensure his own survival. So he had this vision, which we've actually got a video clip that we'll see him detail for himself from the game. But basically, and kind of from the book, my feeling had been that he was actually starting to learn some of the ways of the Jedi, not just the Sith, and was starting to kind of learn some of the ways of the light side, not purely dark side himself, and as such had been given this vision that showed him that while he was working with the two of them to overthrow the Emperor, that wasn't the way that they would be successful. So he ended up turning on them, letting them be captured or killed in the interests of his own survival so that he could see the vision actually acted out and succeeded. And he used that in order to engender favor with the emperor directly. And then the emperor rendered him immortal and appointed him the emperor's wrath. Um, the process of which rendering him immortal, basically, it was detailed in the book very gruesomely. It's like he's
Right.
being flayed and roasted over a fire every second of every day of his life, but he won't die. So it's like learning to live with that constant pain and
Yeah.
suffering.
The emperor
It's kind of
tells
the
him just
price
like
for
you'll
his
get
immortality.
used to it. You know,
Yeah.
you get to where you don't feel, you're it's awful. Yeah, I remember that too. That thing kind of burned in my mind as well.
So Scourge served the emperor loyally for over 3 centuries, killing the emperor's enemies and carrying out his will as the Wrath. Not until the Galactic War, which was just prior to our MMO, began to break out, and between the Empire and the Republic, did Scourge encounter. This is in the game, the Hero of Tython, which is one of the titles that you get, obviously on Tython, after as a part of your class quest as a Jedi Knight. The Jedi from his vision is you, basically, in the game, the Hero of Tython. So this is what set him in motion to serve as the Emperor's Wrath this whole time. He sees you, so he watches as the hero, you are forced to become a servant of the Emperor when a strike team of Jedi failed to capture the Emperor. But when the hero breaks free from the Emperor's control, Scourge betrayed the Sith to help the Jedi escape and pledges his loyalty to the hero.
Which, let me interject right there. Okay, so what happens in the game, Scourge basically resigns, disappears as Emperor's Wrath. And that leaves the spot open for the Sith warrior to step in and take it over, which I think is awesome. I love how those things line up right there, and like it's kind of like the Jedi Knight storyline and the Sith warrior just kind of bump into each other right at that spot, and then they go their own separate way. Like, you take the. Anyway, go on.
Yes, exactly. Which is why a lot of people actually think that the Sith warrior storyline itself may have been the conceptually the storyline intended for had there been a KOTOR 3. You would have had like the Jedi Knight was the conceptual story for the light side choices that you made, and then the Sith warrior was going to be the decisions that resulted from playing as a dark side. And there is a lot of similarity there. So anyway, and to wrap this up without spoiling too much. He pledges his loyalty to the hero, and Scourge aided the Jedi Knight and the Jedi's crew in foiling the Emperor's plans, and because his concern is basically that the Emperor is going to repeat the dark side ritual that he had used to devastate Anathema, but on a galactic scale. Sort of like what you saw ultimately on Ziost in the game, but galaxy-wide. So it is like literally the entire story of Scourge up to this point is the fact that his existence, his continued immortality, his vision, like all of his the climax of his decision making is that he is meant to be present with the Jedi Knight when the Emperor is finally killed and taken down for good and thrown from the galaxy.
Which is what has so many people bent out of shape because they were expecting to have him by now. Right? Because I mean, like, seriously, at least when you play this, you will understand. You're like, this is the guy that was essentially like the dark like mastermind behind all of this. Like allying himself with people he disagreed with because he saw the need and he realized that following the dark side or following the Emperor had so many greater repercussions. So he actually switched sides almost. He defected. In a weird sense, although he's one of those that kind of stays true to himself as well, because he understood that the stakes were too high, which I think is really cool. We'll get into discussing his character here in a minute. Anything else, Redna, that you want to add to the?
I think that's enough. Leading into what you've got concerning Scourge's comments regarding the exile and Revan himself.
Okay, so go ahead, Elise.
I would just like to say, if we're going to hit the other kind of. Let me give you Scourge's like Tinder profile, as it were. I would like us to keep that in mind, how you guys just ended that, because I think that's a really good discussion point for kind of where do we think maybe could be where BioWare could bring him back in a meaningful way.
Absolutely.
Of talking point I have later. So let's go ahead and give real quick. And I don't know where you wanted to put your clip or whatever you did, but
sure, we'll do that.
We do his little like Tinder profile here about like who is who is the companion for and what's his race, and just like
sure. Yes, you swipe him right, or he will swipe you left.
Scourge, and I am a Sith pureblood, and I like long walks on Nathema, and
had I known you were going to do this, I would have prepped some graphics for this. We would have had like the Scourge Tinder profile. The video clip for this is about 4 or 5 minutes long, so everybody stay with us. We'll play through this. It's basically all of the conversations you have with him as the Jedi Knight, going through the story. So it's been put together. We'll take a look, and then we will. And this is from Fluffy Ninja Llama, by the way.
I love her. She is my favorite YouTuber.
So we are going to make sure to credit her with the work because she's the one who did it. And
I should say that my summary was almost entirely stripped directly from Wikipedia on the Lord Scourge page. Credit where credit's due.
Right. All right. So let's get into that, and then we'll get back to the discussion here.
I thank you for your trust, Jedi. I might not have given mine so freely were our positions reversed.
Tell me more about this vision. What makes someone like you bow to me?
As I told your council, the Emperor's plan is not to rule the galaxy, but to consume it. I've devoted centuries to stopping him. For a time, I worked with the greatest of your Jedi heroes, Revan and the Jedi Exile. But they did not have the strength to complete their task.
That's quite a claim.
You will find no proof. I hid my association with them well. Nonetheless, I was their ally in the shadows. Revan was both Jedi Master and Sith Lord. The student, the Exile, defeated the Sith Triumvirate. They were your greatest heroes. I hope to help them kill my Lord Emperor until my vision. Jedi, shining with the Force, lined up to destroy him. All were swept aside. Revan and the Exile were cast at my feet. Then, out of the shadows, one Jedi emerged to cut the Emperor down. That Jedi wore your face.
I hadn't even been born yet.
I waited 300 years for your birth. When I saw your face on Quesh, in the vision, I bowed to you and took a crown from the Emperor's head. It ended when you held his power in your hands.
I do not know how more to prepare you to face the Emperor. What has your training been? All I know of Jedi ways is from Revan. Surely they have changed in 300 years.
I am prepared. I need nothing more from you.
You do not lack for confidence, Jedi. Revan and the Exile were much like you. They truly believed that they could destroy the Dark Lord. I believe them too.
Revan and the Jedi Exile are legends. What were they like?
It should not have surprised anyone that Revan turned Sith. He knew you cannot fight the dark side without understanding it. The Exile was harder to read. Even with all she had done, she never trusted herself. With Revan, she was his student again.
That was 300 years ago. Obviously it didn't work out.
I hoped it would. I was their eyes and ears in the Sith Academy. Their most trusted ally. I liked them. I would have served them, but my vision told me they would fail. I cut down the Exile and brought Revan to the Emperor as a gift.
You regret betraying them. There is room in the Force to forgive, even such heinous crimes.
I do not seek forgiveness. The only way to live long enough to find the Jedi who would kill the Emperor, to find you, was to convince him to trust me. He took my offering and gave me a place at his side. He gave me immortality. It was a gift, but not without its price. I gain nothing from understanding how your Republic's fools view the galaxy. I am surprised that once your council finishes its brainwashing, any Jedi has a spine left to oppose the Emperor. Perhaps you are young enough to still cultivate the strength of the Sith.
Revan, the Exile, and I were all Jedi trained. We all resisted the Emperor. What Sith have done so?
That was a surprise. In 3 centuries, I expected to see one test his strength against the Dark Lord. But those strong enough to challenge him are killed young, or co-opted into the Dark Council. Perhaps you are right. Jedi strengths are different, not necessarily lesser. It has been enlightening to spend so much time among you and your Jedi. For 300 years, I have spoken to no one but Sith, and they do not change.
Was that almost a compliment?
I am only surprised that I have learned the most of the Force from a Jedi. Revan taught me to be effective when I became the Emperor's wrath. And now I have learned as much from you.
You have opened my eyes as well.
And here I thought you weren't listening.
All right, so that is the basic breakdown of Scourge. Basically, just running through the storyline, meeting Scourge, learning what all happened, his explanation behind things, and all of that. So let's go ahead and get our Tinder profile of Lord Scourge created. So, Elise.
I get to do that.
Oh,
Okay.
oh yes.
Here's a better question. Why is Elise on Tinder?
I'm not on Tinder. I just know about it from my friends.
Right. She shows up on Tinder just so she can swipe everybody left. Just so she can reject people.
Scourge is the companion for the Jedi Knight story. He's a Sith pureblood with tentacly I saw, which was not my favorite face.
I was going to say, don't you like the tentacle beards? Those are...
No.
Really? I hear they're all the rage in the Empire.
So what you're saying is if I grow this out and I like put it into dreads and stuff, you won't like it?
Diet red. There you go.
Man.
Well, you know what? It doesn't matter what I think. I would like to know what Gigi thinks about that, but we'll move on. Okay, so he was, as Redna said earlier, and Sakari, he was the Emperor's Wrath prior to him jumping ship and joining your group as the Jedi Knight. You pick him up on Quesh. Thank God you guys put all this stuff in there because I haven't picked him up yet in mine. He's was Sith, but he's in on the Knight, right? So of course that's Republic side when you get him in the game. Orientation, Sakari, you had a little bit of a, well, why don't we skip that just for a second? What's his personality like? I kind of get the impression he's kind of a dour, serious, oh my God, the world's gonna die unless we do this type. I haven't seen him yet, but
he's very practical. He's very pragmatic, all about action.
I think stoic would be a good word for him.
Stoic, right? Okay. Yeah. He's not your average Sith, but we're gonna get into that in a moment.
Okay. What about his philosophy of the Force? Is he very much black and white, or are we shades of gray? Where are we? I mean, I assume there has to be some shades of gray if he's willing to do what he's done.
Yes, there's a certain degree of shades of gray in as much as he is willing to do what's necessary to turn on the Emperor. So even if that means doing things that might be traditionally not particularly Sith or dark side.
Okay.
But he does fully believe in the strength, power of the Sith and their right to lead. So it's not as though he's a Jedi supporter or endorser. He only turns to them because he knows that's where he'll get the most support in turning against the Emperor. There's even a throw-out line where he mentions, the Jedi mentions to him, listen, I was trained as a Jedi, because he thinks of the Jedi traditionally as being weaker than the Sith. And the Jedi's like, well, let me see. Revan was Jedi, Mika was Jedi, I'm Jedi, and obviously we're all pretty stinking powerful. And he's like, yeah, that's a good point. And the Jedi's like, yeah, and by the way, where are all those Sith helping to try and overthrow the Emperor just as a support of their own strength? Like, hey, you guys are supposed to be out strength and overthrowing your superiors and seizing power, and yet who's trying to do it against the Emperor? And he's like, yeah, that kind of surprised me in the past 300 years that none of the Sith
None
have
of
even
them.
attempted to take out the Emperor.
Well, he does say that all at once, when they notice somebody's pretty strong, they kill them real soon, and the other ones co-opted into the Dark Council. So there's a control strategy at work there. But
it looks like the Emperor may be actually working deliberately to weaken the power of the overall Sith individual forces, more of the group than the individual. And as a result, that's kind of how honestly, it kind of reminds me in Dune, how they have, oh gosh, I wish I could remember what he's called. But in one of the third or fourth books, once the sand guy is kind of basically manipulating everything. One of his key features as ruler is that he fosters rebellion against himself. He's constantly got them basically beating themselves against himself, but as a result, it actually keeps rebellion from being successful because they aren't actually being strengthened through the winnowing aspect of strongest must survive. And it seems like the Emperor's doing something similar here, where he's actually, as a pinpoint, identifying the strongest individuals, taking them out, but then letting the overall strength of the Empire continue to grow.
Mm-hmm. How about, so is he romanceable?
No.
Tinder. Okay.
Not at all.
No, and that's definitely more from, he's so driven by this vision that he's had and his desire to fulfill it that, like, basically he's not going to be swayed. It's one of his interesting things. Like, he's not being led by his passion on that front. It's more that he's maintaining this focus, which is very Jedi-esque.
It's not even a philosophy. That's what is so fascinating about his character to me. It's not a. So you look at motivations of the Sith, right? Some of them are in it for the power. Some of them are in it for the blood. Some of them are in it for personal gain, whatever that is. None of that is his primary motivating factor. He's in it for the survival of everyone, which, in my opinion, is distinctively not Sith. Sith doesn't care about anyone else but themselves. So you've got like a conflicting kind of his motivations are very interesting. And you duel with him a lot. You just don't duel with the lightsabers. It's all in conversation. So there's comparison of these philosophies. Well, some of what Redna was outlining about, well, where have the Sith been? Why haven't they tried to overthrow the Emperor? In the end, you get out of it with this like a grudging mutual respect of each other, but nobody is swayed, which I think is really cool.
This is he's basically an anti-hero, essentially.
Sure, but he's also a supporting character.
Correct, but I mean that's the role he's fulfilling. He's doing the wrong thing for the right reasons. If you look at it from maybe the Sith point of view, he's doing the wrong thing,
or the right thing for the wrong reasons.
Right. So,
but he's the anti-sidekick.
Yeah.
Because that's the role he's cast for himself, is to be there for the hero that will take out the Emperor.
Right.
So
he was originally a tank, right? You guys said that. I'm just having to read that one again since I haven't gotten him yet. And just to kind of go back to the orientation, because I kind of skipped it. So I asked about, is he, black, white, shades of gray? Did you have anything else to add for that, Sakari?
No, that was for the most part it. I never, when I played the story, I was never a dark side Jedi Knight. I suspect that I almost, and maybe somebody in chat, anybody who's experienced this, clarify for us. I was a light side, and so I enjoyed a lot of that. The conversation, in my opinion, was the best part about Scourge, is trying to actually, hey, some of your values are kind of light side values. You should, and you try to use that to bring him over, but he resists you. But I've never played a dark side Jedi Knight, and I'm interested to learn. How did that go? How is it? Are you like one of those bloody type of people? And he still kind of look down on you for that? How does it go? So if anybody wants to clarify in chat, please, I'm interested. So those were my notes on that for sure.
All right. So, did we want to go? Let's go back up since time's getting away from us like always. Did we want to talk about, since he's not back yet, and we already know that there's some frustration and angst about that because it clearly
Yes.
he kind of missed
Yeah.
that window that made a narrative sense for him to have been injected back into the story.
Now, so I'm gonna say right here that yes, it made narrative sense, and they missed the opportunity, and the whole community's going, "What on earth? What did you guys do?" It better be epic, and there's got to be a good reason that this happens, and I think they know that. So I'm actually going to, before I judge BioWare on this, I'm going to hold out and see what happened. Because for all we know, he could have been operating in the shadows the entire time, and when it all comes to light, oh, it's major redeeming, and okay, this is great. So I'm going to wait on it. I'm not going to judge BioWare too harshly just yet. But I do think that it's going to have to be epic. He's going to have played some kind of a role or done something. But it's going to be a severe letdown for me if, oh, no, he was just trapped in carbonite for the last. That's not going to fly. You know?
Well, so let's take this moment. I think one of the other ones that I had was, all right, so if you are so we know 6.0 is coming, and we don't know what's going to happen. We just know hints about what they're alluding to planet-wise, but we don't really know what's going to happen on that.
May I interject a thought here, by the way? Something that I just clicked with me, and it kind of ties into our previous roadmap conversations, but it just dawned on me a couple days ago. The story elements that we're getting. We know we're getting some story elements with 5.1 or
5.10.
Well, they call it 5.10, but the last time I checked my numbers is 5.1. They mentioned that they're going to be including story elements where it's leading up to all-out war between the Empire and the Republic again, right? We're finally going to break out in war again, and it's going to be factions existing once again. And the stories will be separate. And it struck me, actually. Now, first, we haven't actually had distinct separate stories since Macabre. But this actually feels very much similar to the ramp up to the expansion with Revan. In that they did the Flashpoint stuff and had the story elements and the patches that were released prior to 6.0. So it struck me that this may be a genuinely viable hope, that what they're actually doing is that they're releasing these story elements because they are leading into a much larger traditional expansion similar to what we got out of Shadow of Revan, which I really enjoyed that expansion. And we know there's worlds coming and stuff like this that are all indicative of a similar experience. So that's what I'm hoping. Sorry, just wanted to interject that thought because we do see these things tying into the story elements.
I'm hoping that something like that would be better because I want story.
Right.
So, but for me, I hope they're going to do other flashpoints because the ones we had
are talking about
too long to be replayable. I have replayed the poop out of the Forged Alliance's flashpoints. I've done them solo. I've done them with
Prime. Yeah, yes, absolutely.
I've done them with the Jesus droid. I've done them with people. I've done them on master mode. I enjoyed the heck out of those flashpoints. I do not like the pseudo mini raid / flashpoints that we have that are just way too long and no one ever actually likes doing in Group Finder. Okay.
So you did like Forged Alliances, though, because that's what this feels like.
I loved it. I thought it was perfect. It was the perfect size. It was a really nice whatever. You had some choices in there. You could do it by yourself and get loot drops and decos, even if you did it by yourself. I told you, Shadow of Revan is my favorite expansion to date in this game, all the way around.
Okay. Good.
So I will agree, Redna, with you that it does feel like Forged Alliances. I felt that way when they had the first one. I was like, oh, I hate flashpoints as a storytelling mechanism because to me it's on rails, and I don't like on rails. Yes. so and especially when they string 2 or 3 or 4 of them together, and it's like, oh my goodness. But I'm okay with this if this is the prelude. If it's a Forged Alliances on the way to Shadow of Revan. If it's a prelude to 6.0, which is its own thing, and boom, there it is. You've got daily areas again. There's a storyline, and you can run around through this place, achieving your missions in that area. I'm good with that. So, and I think that's pretty much where we're going to go. But I kind of returning back to Lord Scourge, there's going to have to be, because we're coming back to Empire versus Republic now. So all of the work that you would expect Scourge to have done has been handled. So I think more of a question is, and I think especially the community's expectations is, what exactly has he been up to? What exactly is Scourge going to have been doing the whole time that was helpful? And I just want to see something meaningful, is what I'm saying.
Well, honestly, I would also like to know why he would even come back at this stage, right? Like, as a story element, his purpose has been fulfilled. So you've better be giving him additional purpose for him to be returning to, galactic prominence and spotlight again for any reason.
Yeah, so
Well,
we've had an I wish
unless-
before. Hey, what if Melgus came back? Wouldn't it be awesome if Melgus comes back and Scourge is at his side as his Wrath? How cool would that be? So
what if Scourge decided that since his ultimate job has been accomplished by somebody else, that he doesn't have anything better to do, so now he's going to become emperor? But I don't know if that was against his kind of philosophy or not. I mean, now he doesn't have a purpose, and so he's kind of like, he's got nothing but free time, so...
I like this idea, exploring what is his purpose, because his purpose beforehand was really his motivation, and his purpose was, hey, we need to save everybody. I don't like what the Emperor's doing. He's going to consume the galaxy. So there is a little bit of self-servingness in it. He wants to save himself, yes, but he also kind of wants to save everybody else. He's, and he knows that he knows that the Emperor had consumed Nathema. And I think when Zios came, it was kind of like he knew that was something that could happen. Emperor does it again, but he knows that the Emperor is like saving up his energy to do it to the whole galaxy. Now, what's interesting to me is how wrong he was, because actually the Emperor wasn't saving up to consume the galaxy. He was saving up to basically make himself immortal by taking over the player character at the end of Codet. So it's kind of like what his whole purpose was actually a misunderstanding of what the Emperor was actually up to the whole time. Which is kudos to the Emperor for his secrecy to Valkorion, because keep even his Wrath guessing. So apparently he's pretty close to his understanding what the Emperor.
Although, well, I mean, to jaded Redna says, well, yeah, that's because after Ziost, they completely retconned the entire character of the Emperor with massive contradictions that do not indicate
Right.
anything that he existed for prior. But, okay.
Because, I mean,
I am really thinking about this. I don't think that it actually does conflict with his personality that he would make a play for the Empire. Because the only thing that changed his course of direction was learning the extent to which the Emperor had decimated all life on a planet, that he knew he needed to turn against the Emperor. He didn't seem to be turning against anything else, but he got singularly focused on that goal.
And he thought Revan was the way to do it, overthrow the Emperor, at least kill him.
Well, until the vision, and then he thought it was the Jedi Guardian, or Jedi Knight, sorry.
Yeah, he realized that it wasn't a short-term solution to this. It was going to be a long-term solution, and decided to kind of hunker down and wait it out, which in my opinion is, I think that speaks a lot to his ability to think strategically and to like the practical kind of nature to him. He realized what we're doing here is all wrong. I better basically, I'm here supporting Mitra Surik and Revan, and I think who was a T7 or somebody. All three of them were in the fight with the Emperor, and he was like, I had better do something now to ensure that
T7 was required.
That I will make it, through this, or else all of us are just going to be dead. So, in that moment, he betrays them, and that's really end of Mitra. It's the end of T7. I think it's T7, right, or T3, or one of those. Droid in the code.
Whatever, droid.
Yes, the astromech. And then Revan is, of course, in prison for 300 years.
Well, no, Revan was, right. But
right.
What was Scourge? Scourge was the Emperor's Wrath. Like, he was actually tied to the Empire, doing the Emperor's bidding, a considerably powerful individual. And I could see, particularly with the orchestrations of Kotet and Kot Fi, he wipes out most of the Dark Council. He obliterates a huge portion of the Empire itself. In the reconstitution of the Empire, I could see him making a bid to now that he's done with the Jedi Knight in some way, shape, or form. It could be that he's actually trying to ingratiate himself to the Empire again and make a play to be the new head of the Dark Council or even an Emperor
I don't know
replacement.
if I can. I don't know if I can go with that though. Like, okay, let's say, because I mean, hey, there's some thinking out there. Malgus is making a comeback, right? If it's Scourge or Malgus, which would you prefer? Which one would be the better story? Like, if you were to pick between them.
Well, Malgus let himself go. He needs to just like
Let himself go. He has hair now. I mean, goodness.
yeah, but then
Scourge.
he stopped exercising and like blew up. He needs to go see his personal.
So that's another thing, is that we're talking about Scourge is a person of purpose, right? You want to talk about somebody who had purpose and vision. You want to talk about Malgus. Malgus had vision as to the kind of empire and he made a play for it. And I think that may be the kind of empire that Scourge would support. So I don't know. Maybe I just want to see him come back in a meaningful way is what I'm saying. I think maybe
I like seeing. So just from the chat room too, I like seeing this theory that's developing that it might be a good idea that since Valkorion has been taken down, but the Emperor has not been remiss in using multiple bodies, and we might have seen some sequence of that Valkorion essence of him being taken down, but the Emperor is not really dead. So then he reverts to the physical form that he was previously as a part of the Empire, and therefore the Scourge returns in order to genuinely finish the Emperor, not the Valkorion, but the
that would be
whatever his Sith
interesting.
name was originally.
Yeah, because you do have the children of the Empire, don't you? The Emperor, and that they're kind of like he's got.
Yeah, and you get the voice and the
They're
rap. and you
basically
got
Horcruxes. Is essentially what he turns these poor
Right.
people into. Sorry, I'm borrowing from the Harry Potter universe. Doesn't understand? I'll be happy to.
If you don't
outside
understand, enter
yeah.
the 20th century.
No, chat has been buzzing tonight. It's interesting for me because this is not the average discussion here on the council. Usually we're talking about PvP, or we're talking about the roadmap, or raiding. Yeah, exactly. Something at least can't stomach. Like, let's have a whole discussion about EC and how much we love it.
Oh my god!
And here we are talking about Scourge.
The chat room also mentions that children of the Emperor can be vessels for the Emperor, which I had forgotten, which is also true. So there's a lot of material to work with where you could actually bring Scourge back and still have him be relevant in his original incarnation. But I do still think that it would be nice to see, even if they do find some way to address that in some way that's satisfying, I still like to see some form of restoration as to the purpose of Scourge continuing within our own storyline. That beyond the Emperor, because he's such a focused personality on this single purpose. We don't know what he lives for beyond the death of the Emperor,
And Neff brings up rightly in chat that Kira Carson is still to come back. And remember, Kira Carson was a child of the Emperor. So part of me has kind of got some fatigue with regard to the Emperor / Valkorion / Vitiate. I'm kind of hoping he's gone now. But there's lots of opportunity for him still to be hanging on.
Yeah, but wouldn't you like to have it like hook back into the original story that you spent all those hours or whatever playing?
Yeah, that's kind of my.
I don't mean to keep banging on that drum, but
it doesn't feel as bad as getting that lizard guy back again,
Kaizen Fess.
Kaizen Fess, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, just seems to me I would rather have them actually sit down, and if we're gonna go back to the faction stuff, it would be kind of nice for there to be something familiar there instead of a whole new faction again.
Absolutely.
And a whole new cast of characters you gotta learn. Because what was the point of everybody playing 0 to 50, and then all of that was pretty much, well, we're done. Where this is the new
Well, I mean, because if that's the case, hey, why doesn't Revan show back up? And for that matter, why not Kefis?
Okay, I'm not. You lost me with Kefis.
How bad are we gonna get?
Lost me with Kefis. I was down with Revan, and you had to say Kefis.
Kefis. Yeah, Kefis just ruins everything. Ruins everybody's life. Let's go ahead and switch into some announcements. Yes, just to make sure everybody is aware of it. The deployment of patch 5.9.3 is not happening tomorrow morning, i.e. Tuesday, as they usually do with patch deployments. It's happening Wednesday this week. 1 day delay on the 26th. So the day after tomorrow is when we will see patch 5.9.3. With it will come the Vanden Hutball Arena. That's the gas planet that I think we did the chapters. The arena's name is Sky Shredder, so it's going to be Hutball, of course. Have fun with that. And with it is one of the changes that they've been kind of delaying that I am happy to see them finally do, and that is bring tanks' ability to shield critical hits to PvP. So tanks are actually going to now be viable gear-wise in PvP. Good to see. I will be testing it out thoroughly. I'll probably in October the 2nd starts a double XP event. So those of you who have been kind of waiting, watching, wondering when the next one's going to be, October this. So, and then another announcement. Who put it in the show notes as I was talking? Was it you, Redna?
Me.
Oh, Elise. What was it? What is the other announcement?
So Tor announced that the Cantina livestream event will be Thursday, October the 11th. New storyline details, dev Q&A, giveaways, and more.
Did they say they'd have the Cantina code?
Where's my loot? Hashtag.
Yeah.
They said
I've seen it.
giveaways.
I hope that's part of the giveaway.
Okay, it
I've seen other
says.
and I hope we still get the Cantina code.
Okay, join us Thursday, October the 11th at 3 p.m. PST at twitch.tv/SWTOR for our October Cantina live stream. The stream will be sharing more about some of the great things you can expect in game update 5.10, Jedi Under Siege, which was revealed in our holiday roadmap from Keith. Then they linked that post of his.
Right.
Then they say we will reveal what planet you'll be able to explore in our new storyline. Spoiler-free overview of the new Empire vs. Republic storyline. Meet some of the new and returning characters, including companions. Challenges that await in Master Mode, Gods of the Machine operations, and how people blah blah blah. We'll talk through some of the great guild changes. And yada 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 and more. If that wasn't enough, various members of the development team will be answering your questions throughout the stream. Last but not least,
they're gonna make a big thing of this.
Yes, there'll be a new Cantina.
It's not just a 30-minute deal like they usually do. It's gonna actually be like a Cantina stream. I hope that at the end of it. Yes. So everybody who's there gets it, but I guess it'll get shared to everybody after. Kind of worthless because everybody will have it. But I mean, if we can get Eric to sit on the stream with a beer and just kind of take questions for an hour and a half, I think we will be. That's good because that's where you really want to get Eric in.
Well, it's not just Eric though; it's developers.
Developers, Charles.
Plural.
More the merrier.
Plural.
Give them all a beer.
We need to get him on my diet where he can't drink beer anymore. It's only clear liquor.
Really?
Just saying. Yeah.
I'm down with that.
All right, Elise, over to you.
All right. Well, this is the point in the show where Magic does her thank yous. I am not as smooth as Magic with her thank yous.
Brenda's helping you out.
So I was going to say I knew Redna would put up his thank yous, show everybody his thank yous. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. We appreciate it. Thank you for the chit-chats. It makes the show more entertaining for us on this side to have class participation as it was. The follows, the retweets, the signal boosts on Reddit, Facebook, Twitter.
Magic is helping you out in chat. She's like, even the lurkers, all capital thank you. We love you. Even you haters on Reddit, we've got to make sure to put that in there.
She's supposed to be sleeping. Go to bed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yes, thank you. Brenda.
And that brings us to the end of the episode. The council is adjourned. If you'd like to reach us, you can email us at thecouncil@thecouncilswotor.com. Like our Facebook page at facebook.com/thecouncilswotor. You can find Elise on Twitter at abrown35, Magic Ace at the Magic Ace. That's with a JK, because she's just kidding. Me at R3DM4, and Sakari at I am Sakari. Also, don't forget our Patreon page at patreon.com/thecouncilswotor, where patrons can catch the articles we're talking about behind the scenes and exclusive backstage access to our after show chat. That's it for this week, guys. When you have lived centuries, you see that everything is a pattern that grows out of itself. Sometimes you can no longer see the trees, only the roots. It is the smallest part of the price of immortality.
Was this a Scourge
I
statement?
understand.
You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master.
What? How can you do this? This is outrageous. It's unfair. How can you be on the council and not be a master?
Take a seat, young Skywalker.
Forgive me, Master.